Well, as of right now, every day we move closer to the inauguration. I believe, I could be wrong, Dave, but I think one of the earlier stories we talked about in one of your appearances here had to do with some of those donors to the Trump administration, lingering questions about that. Well, now we've potentially got a similar situation, or at least we could. So you've got a write up on Business Insider about some of the large corporations that are interested in potentially funding Biden's inauguration, but we don't yet know exactly who is going to and who's not going to be funding it. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that's in part because Joe Biden himself, his campaign, his transition, has not said what this inauguration is going to be like. And of course, COVID-19 is looming over all of this. This is going to be as different an inauguration as we've ever seen, probably in our lifetime, simply because of all the restrictions that are going to be in place. We have no idea what's going to be happening on January 20th, epidemiologically, health-wise. And as a result of that, we could be having a very, very small, truncated type of inauguration, devoid of the balls and the lunches and the brunches and the dinners and all the different trappings that usually come with this once every 4-year celebration. But that is not stopping corporations from saying, hey, look, if you guys are going to do stuff, we would love to send you money, because corporations, this is an opportunity for them and special interests of all sorts to really get in right on day one, get in the front door, put some money down, build some goodwill, and make sure that the new president of the United States and all the people around him know who they are and remember their name and remember the issues that they care about. That's a huge deal for corporations, which is why I'm not surprised that we heard back from Bank of America and Ford and Boeing and a few others who said, to one extent or another, yeah, we're pretty much on board with that if ultimately we have an opportunity to donate. But that's going to be up to Joe Biden to determine whether he takes corporate contributions or not. And that is strictly up to him. It's not a matter of law.
And so far, has he or his campaign said anything about that?
No, they declined to comment for our story. They wouldn't tell us, number one, about any of the finances around the inauguration, whether they will take corporate money, union money, nonprofit money, political money. And in the inauguration, when we talk about that, we're talking about not the thing that you see up on the U.S. Capitol where Joe Biden puts his hand on the Bible and swears the oath of office. That's a government function. We're talking about all the stuff and the swirl of activities that happen for days before and after, which is where the corporate funding or other money that's non-governmental comes in to play. So that's number one. We also don't know from Joe Biden what exactly the schedule is going to be. So are they going to have social events? Are they going to have the pomp and circumstance at any level? I would expect that there's going to be that at some level. I mean, Joe Biden's been waiting since 1988 to become president of the United States. So there's going to be something here, but to the extent we don't know. And also, too, there is the possibility, and nobody has said this definitively, that something could be delayed, that instead of having all that pomp and circumstance right around January 20th, that maybe something after vaccines are delivered and the pandemic is largely behind us, that we do it a year from now or we do something else down the road. That's all unclear, and the Biden campaign is being very tight-lipped about this.
Yeah. That seems like that would be a tough sell to really get people as invested as because this isn't just Joe Biden becoming president, it's Donald Trump not being president anymore.
Correct.
This is sort of the moment. But so obviously they're not going to have gigantic crowds of people. Crowds might show up to protest or something, but I doubt Joe Biden is going to be asking for huge crowds to assemble for the actual day of event. They could, in theory, have those balls, but it's hard to imagine a more tone-deaf way to start off your presidency than having these gatherings that you've been saying people shouldn't have. And in theory, you could do it outdoors, but this is going to be Washington, D.C. in late January. So if you had to guess, what do you think? Is it going to be a small private ceremony? Is it going to be an outdoor thing with masks? How do they have something that ushers in this new era without giving the right tons of ammunition to attack all of their COVID comments over the past year as being hypocritical?
Well, I think we have a bit of a template from what Joe Biden did in the final days of the campaign and in the days after the campaign. He had events, okay? He had people gathered at those events, but everything was socially distant. Everyone had a mask. There were definitely major restrictions put in place. In some cases, people were in their cars for outdoor events. So whether it looks like something similar to that or something that's going to be different, but sort of the same restrictions put into place, that seems to be something that worked and was made for TV as well. You could still show that to a national audience. The deed of the day was being done, whether it was Joe Biden giving a speech, whether it was him accepting the, basically the victory that he won on November 7th. So those could be definite options. All indications at this point, at least from the government side of this, is that the actual inauguration where Joe Biden swears the oath of office is going to be still at the U.S. Capitol, but it may look a lot different and people may be spread out a heck of a lot more than typical. Yeah. And we have no idea what's going to come about when it comes to people gathering to watch the ceremony and whether they're going to be all through the National Mall, whether that's going to be restricted, up in the air at this point, John.
Yeah. Well, and finally, I know if I had to bet, I would say that you are going to be closely watching when those donations actually start to happen. But
correct.
Exactly. So based on the last time around, how much disclosure, how much transparency is there on this sort of fundraising? If I recall, Donald Trump, who raised an incredible $100 million or something like that, wasn't it? That we still had a lot of unanswered questions about exactly who gave what. Isn't that so?
Yeah, the rules of the road are that you have to ultimately disclose who gave you money, but you don't have to disclose as a presidential candidate turned president where you spent that money. So what we can tell you is that in 2013, Barack Obama, he accepted corporate contributions. He had a very nice big inauguration. And Donald Trump in 2017 did all of that, took corporate money and took it to new heights and basically had no restrictions on who could give money. Now, he's also subject to some legal action in terms of how that money was spent. There was a lot of messiness there, but he took money from a whole variety of sources and took in more money than any president in U.S. history when it came to money for an inauguration. So the rules, again, are really up to the candidates. And that's one question that Congress may grapple with, is whether they want to clamp down on that type of activity, because an inauguration, John, is about as swampy as it gets. And because those rules are not in place, for better or for worse, it gives entree to a lot of different special interests to plunk down a whole bunch of cash and endear themselves to the incoming president, which many Democrats find to be just patently unseemly at its face, either for Republicans or for Democrats.
Well, you can add me to the unseemly column. I'm not a fan of it. Can't wait to find out which ones, if any, are on there. And if you'd like to know some of the corporations that are apparently trying to line up to be in that group, Dave's work is available right now at Business Insider. If you want to learn more, both about the Truth Commission, the possibility of that, as well as the inauguration funding, you can go take a look at that. Dave, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you, John.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.